Morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for coming. I'd especially like to thank the representatives from State Representative Noemi Gonzalez's office. She's a longtime supporter of our campus, and we appreciate that she sent representatives to be here in her stead. She has to be in Austin, of course, because of the special session. I'd also like to acknowledge one of our board members, Laura Ponce, is here. Laura, thank you. The founding dean of Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center Paul L. Foster School of Medicine, Dr. Manuel de la Rosa. And as you can see, we've got the entire unit here who can't wait to show off this place. Welcome to UMC's new Center for Diagnostic and Advanced Endoscopy. You're going to be awed, I promise. We are so glad that you could be with us today because we're truly excited to show off this wonderful facility and to introduce you to the many specialists who work in it. The work that they are doing now has really raised the level of care in El Paso, and I can't wait for them to tell you about it. So without further ado, our fearless leader, Mr. Jim Valenti, will get us started this morning. Jim.
Thanks, Margaret. I just love the color. The color is just perfect on the uniforms, and it just brings warmth to me. And when I look at you guys with your faces smiling, and we're so delighted to be able to provide a center here. This is a one-of-a-kind center. And before I go into a little bit more, I just want to talk about Representative Gonzalez. Mother and grandmother are here too, and it's so mom and grandmother, hello. Thanks for being here. This was made possible because of doctors and nurses coming together and planning what's needed for care for our patients for the future and a long distance into the future. So our planning process at UMC has always been how to plan with doctors and nurses on clinical programs. And what you're going to see is this. This is a one-of-a-kind center for the entire region. It's a one-of-a-kind center. There's many El Pasoans that leave this community that go to Minnesota, that go to St. Louis, that go to Arizona for procedures. They can stay here. And so we're very pleased. You're going to see a lot of rooms and amenities for the patients, and it's a higher level of care for El Paso. The people that helped Maria's team, Maria Zampini's team, Maria, raise your hand. This is all possible with Maria's team. Our partners too on the architectural side, Leonard Nardell with MNK. And Vaughn Construction. I don't know if we have Vaughn Construction too. That made it possible. When you also tour through this center, you're also going to see artwork. Through the University Medical Center Foundation. Artwork breathes life into a building too. It breathes life, and when you're in a time of thinking about your health and you're coming to work and working throughout the day, it always adds another dimension to our caring, because art is part of caring. And so the artwork that you see is made through the Healing Arts campaign through the foundation, which is fundraising for art that you see throughout the hospital, no different than when you tour through this center. Also, University Medical Center Foundation made possible some of the equipment that you're seeing. So this was through donations and through grants that provided the equipment. So I'm very pleased to be up here, and the space that you're seeing, they're graduating from 2,500 square feet to 25,000, 10 times the amount of space. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to need to have rollerblades or roller skates. I'm so pleased to be up here with my colleagues in medicine. When I look through pulmonologists, critical care, GI physicians, it's always great to see you guys and plan for the future of El Paso. Thank you for being our partners. And also, I met some of the fellows. This year, we're going to have 4. They keep multiplying. 2, 4 next month, and then 6 next year. So we'll have 6 fellows. And so it's a great testament of our mission in education, our mission in patient care. Thank you for being here, all of you. And Margaret, I'm going to turn it back to you. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you, Jim. You know, in just a few minutes, you all are going to meet the medical director of this facility. He's going to talk to us about the future. But before we do that, we want to get some historical perspective. So I asked Dr. Mark Zuckerman to come and speak to us this morning to give us that perspective on how far we really have come. Dr. Zuckerman is a longtime denizen of the UMC Texas Tech campus. He is the chief of the Division of Gastroenterology at Texas Tech, as well as the director of the fellowship program there. So he's got his hands full with those 6 folks. Dr. Zuckerman, we sure would like to hear what you have to say about how far we've come.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone to the new Endoscopy Center. We're very excited about the opening of the new area. I'd like to give you a little bit of historical perspective because I've been here for quite some time. And I'd like you to know how much endoscopy has evolved. We've always been on the forefront in El Paso. However, the unit has changed, it's gotten bigger and more complex over time. So when I first came here, we were in the first iteration of the endoscopy unit. And endoscopy units usually evolve from sort of conversion of an area to an endoscopy unit, and then later on became specifically designated in bigger places dedicated to endoscopy. So this is actually the 5th iteration of the endoscopy unit in the history of UMC. We originally started out as an area on the 6th floor of the hospital, and several years later moved down to the 1st floor. I mean, many of you may remember this. Well, we did have a nice little unit on the 1st floor. Then we moved across the corridor to a specially designed endoscopy unit that really worked very well. In 2003, with the building of this new section of the hospital, ICU on the 2nd floor, the endoscopy area moved to the 1st floor to a pretty big area that was integrated with perioperative services, surgery, pre-op, post-op care, with a full set of endoscopy services. Now, 10 years later, we're moving to this much bigger area with even more expanded facilities, keeping us on the forefront of GI, surgery, pulmonary care in the city. You know, what's happened is the demand for endoscopy has grown. So we're seeing more patients, and especially seeing more outpatients for endoscopy, for many reasons. But the number of different procedures available to do endoscopy has increased. It used to be upper endoscopy, colonoscopy. For instance, it's much more varied than that. And the complexity of the procedures has increased. So all these have come together. When we investigate a problem in the endoscopy unit, it may require more than one procedure, more than just basic procedures. For instance, GI bleeding or anemia may require more than just upper endoscopy and colonoscopy, but our facility has capsule endoscopy, for instance, small bowel endoscopy. Procedures have gone from being largely diagnostic to often therapeutic. So we provide treatment here. And as Mr. Valenti has said, some of these are treatments that people previously had to go to other cities to obtain and are available at UMC. So I hope that gives a little bit of an idea. We're very excited about moving to the big new facility with expanded services, the Center for Diagnostic and Advanced Endoscopy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zuckerman.
I also wanted to say one of the things that triggered another memory with regards to how multidisciplinary this is, because you have pulmonologists, critical care physicians, GI physicians. Dr. Davis, raise your hand. You have surgeons. So when Dr. Zuckerman was talking about it's just not diagnostic, it's therapeutic, the partnership of a one-of-a-kind between surgeons and GI is at this campus, nowhere else in this community. So Dr. Davis, I wanted to acknowledge you, and it's easy to spot you in the audience because you're over 6 foot. He's got the height that my mom wanted me to have. So.
Dr. Davis, you're welcome to join us up here. Come on up. Now you see what we mean by easy to spot. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carmela Morales. She is a gastroenterologist in private practice in El Paso, who is not only the former chief of staff here at University Medical Center, but one of the founding members of this particular unit. Dr. Morales has long had her eye on always progressing and always pushed us to always progress, to look further, to try harder. And so we thought it would be interesting from Dr. Zuckerman's historical perspective to her leadership in forcing us to keep going forward, to kind of handing the reins now to Dr. Mohammed Othman, who's the visionary in the room. So Dr. Morales, if you could join us, we'd appreciate a few remarks.
We did have very humble beginnings. We were always at the forefront, but the manpower was very limited 10 years ago when I returned to El Paso from Dallas, and we had a fairly small unit. It was 2 rooms with a little spot in the middle, and we were right in the main corridor. And I remember showing up thinking, where's the rest of it? And this was it. And it worked well for the procedures and the studies that we did at the time. Dr. Hughes would always give me a hard time because he would say, you only have to make a few decisions. Are you going to scope from above? Are you going to scope from below? Or are you going to do both? And it was always that little tussle that we used to have. That, I would try to sort of let him know that we were much more cognitive than that, but I don't know if he's a believer yet. Anyway, the new faculty, in order to move forward in time, there were a number of changes that forced this. One was the attention to screening colonoscopy, which really just opened the floodgates for the number of patients that needed outpatient services. And that really was one of the big things that pushed us to try to grow and expand initially our core services. And once we started doing that, we realized that the whole city really didn't have a lot of new or novel techniques, and so we would send people to Arizona or to San Antonio or to Dallas. And I think Dr. Zuckerman from the Texas Tech end and Texas Tech recruiting wonderful physicians, to also the support of the private community, the gastroenterologists in the private community all have some sort of historic ties to Texas Tech GI and to UMC. I think they identified a core group of physicians who really were able to bring to UMC a number of very novel and important technologies that we have incorporated. Our nursing staff they're indefatigable, and basically they went from working extremely hard to working extremely harder, and they've embraced all of these technologies that they are actually sort of the top of the tier as far as endoscopy nursing is concerned in the city and in the region. We have a number of techniques and technologies that have really revolutionized care, and I mean that sincerely. One, things along the lines of endoscopic ultrasound that has allowed 3D imaging intraluminally of many malignancies and conditions, and allows localized treatments as opposed to very aggressive surgeries in many instances. We have very aggressive and advanced small bowel imaging with Dr. Zuckerman and capsule endoscopy, small bowel endoscopy. Small bowel endoscopy is not available anywhere else in the city. We also have a pelvic floor and a very advanced motility lab under the leadership of Dr. McCallum, and all of these things are very unique. And they have been embraced not only by our physicians, but they've been embraced by community physicians. And Dr. Othman can attest to that insofar as that a number of doctors in the community regularly refer to UMC now. This is the referral center for many procedures. And I can tell you the level of satisfaction in the community is incredible. And this is really a testament to the hard work that is done day in and day out by our endoscopy unit. Now, none of this would be possible without a lot of help over the many years. First and foremost is our nursing and tech staff. These people are wonderful, they work extremely hard, and they embrace new technologies, and they do all of that without ever sacrificing their advocacy of patients. They always put patients first, and if they've got questions or concerns, there's a very wonderful rapport, and I think that level of mutual respect in the endoscopy unit is one that sets a standard across the hospital. We've also had very, very good leadership from our nursing staff, from Carrie and Alex, all the way up to Ms. Fancher, in terms of seeing what we're doing and providing us with the additional manpower resources to make these new procedures possible. And finally, we also get a lot of we've obviously gotten a lot of financial support from the administration. I think they recognize that you have wonderful faculty, and now we need to match that with a wonderful facility and bring everything up to par, and that is what has happened. And it not only is our local administration, but also our board of managers, foundations like the UMC Foundation has been very generous in providing some equipment. And this also has set the stage for the future, which is really growing and developing new gastroenterologists in the future. That is really, El Paso has a dearth of gastroenterologists, and this is really the important step in terms of growing future doctors. And I get asked all the time, hey, do they want anyone to go mentor the fellows or watch them do procedures? There's a lot of interest in the community, and I certainly feel very proud to have been a part of this, and I feel very lucky to have been able to work with all these wonderful people.
Thank you, Dr. Morales. Good to have you here. Finally, before we cut the ribbon and go inside and show off this pretty place, we've asked Dr. Mohammed Othman, our medical director, to come and speak to us a little bit. He's an assistant professor of medicine at Texas Tech and the director of endoscopy here at University Medical Center. In addition to his fellowship training in gastroenterology, Dr. Othman also received advanced training in the specialty at the Mayo Clinic, and is one of the reasons that this new cutting-edge place and these new cutting-edge procedures are now available in this region. So Dr. Othman, we'd like you to come and talk to us about continuing Carmela's vision to always push us further.
Well, thank you. Well, I think I'm very lucky. I'm the guy who came in the right place in the right time. Let's start saying that. Because what you're going to see in 5 minutes from now, this amazing place, it's a lot of effort. And it's not 1 year or 2 years, it is a lot of generations. And what happens that I'm just completing what they start. So I would like to thank everyone here, from the administration, from my nursing staff, that I love them so much for every hard day that they are here working till late at night and smiling. And because for them, patients come first. And I bet you can go anywhere in El Paso, in any hospital, and you will feel it here in the eyes of our nurses. It's always patients come first. So I would like to thank my nurses first for all what they did. Our future is bright, and it's bright because of everyone here and because of our integrative approach. We are not only gastroenterologists, as Mr. Valenti said, we have surgeon, we have pulmonologists, but we also have pathologists. We also have radiologists. So we have this multidisciplinary approach, and this is what we are focusing on in the next few years. It is not a gastroenterology, it is digestive health. And digestive health involves many aspects. Even psychiatry is a part of digestive health. This is what we're striving for and looking for. When we go to conferences, and Dr. Zuckerman and Dr. Morales can attest to that, there is nothing done in any big referral centers that we're not doing here in El Paso. In this whole spectrum of cases and all spectrum of diseases, we are in the top front. And it's not just talks, it is by cases, by number, by referrals. What we're lacking is training fellows. Guess what? We're doing it now. What we are lacking is to have a nationally funded endoscopic research, which means that nationally they recognize this place as a place that they are doing quality of work, that they are giving us money to conduct endoscopic research. Guess what? We are doing that now. So we are doing all of this. I'm not surprised that maybe 5 to 10 years from now, we may be in the US news as one of the best GI hospitals. And this will be our goal. And with this short talk, I will just stop right here. Thank you.
And wait until I count to 3, please. 1.